Hello students, today we are going to start a new topic that is active and passive voice. Now we all are aware about verbs, right? What are verbs? We all know that verbs are the action words. The words which express any action which is done. This verb is divided into two parts, transitive and intransitive. Transitive verbs are the verbs which carry an object with it. Alright, transitive verb, it carries an object with it, and intransitive, it does not have any object. The transitive verb is divided into two parts, active and passive. So this is what is active and passive. It is the two forms of transitive verb. Now let's see what do you understand by active and passive. Active voice, we use active voice when subject in the sentence does the action. Alright, so in the active voice, the subject of the sentence is the doer of the action. Let's see this example here. Parents love their children. Parents here is the subject. Love is the verb or the action which is done by the subject. And their children, it is the object. So here the subject is doing the action of love. The subject is doing the action of the sentence, that is love. And for whom? For the object, that is the children. So in the active voice, the subject is the doer of the action. Who is the subject? The subject is the doer of the action. The subject does the action, and the object, it receives the action done by the object. The object, it receives the action which is done by the subject. So this is active voice where the subject is always active. The subject is always active. The subject is always performing the action. The next example, a choreographer arranges dance movement. Choreographer is the subject, arranges is the verb, and dance movement is the object. So here the subject, who is the subject? The choreographer. He is arranging, he is doing the action of arranging. For whom? Now let's see the examples of passive voice. In the active voice here, the example was parents love their children. Parent is the subject, love is the verb here, and the verb, that is the action, is done by the subject. The subject is actively doing the action. In the active voice, the subject is always active. In the passive voice, let's see the example. The same sentence has been changed into passive. Children are loved by their parents. Now here we have changed the subject here. In the passive voice, the object becomes the subject. So the children, here the children are receiving the action. Which action? The action which is done by the object. So in the passive voice, the subject is the receiver of the action and the object is the doer of the action. Just opposite of the active voice. In the active voice, the subject is the doer of the action and the object is the receiver of the action. Next example, dance movements are arranged by a choreographer. So here choreographer is the object. The object is doing the action. Which action? The action of arranging the dance movement. And who is going to receive this action? Obviously, he is arranging the dance movement for his students, right? So the dance movement is being arranged by the choreographer. The object is the doer of the action. Now there are certain rules which have been formed to change from active to passive. Whenever we are changing a sentence from active to passive, these 5 rules has to be taken care of. Let's see the 5 rules. The first is that the object becomes the subject. The object in the sentence becomes the subject. For example, let's see this example. Everyone praises her work. So everyone is the subject here. This is the active sentence. Praises is the verb here. Her work is the object here. Now we'll follow these rules according to this example. So everyone praises her work. So the first rule is that the object in the active sentence becomes the subject. So the object in this sentence is what? Her work. Now this her work becomes the subject of the passive sentence. This is the first rule and the first step, that we change the object of the active sentence to the subject of the passive. The second rule is use the verb to be, all the forms of the verb to be in the same tense as the main verb. Here the main verb is praises, right? This is which tense? This is present tense. This is present. So this to be form of the verb, the helping verb, the auxiliary verb, it has to be in present. It will be in present. Why it is in present? Why we are not using was? Why we are not using were? Alright, present tense singular. Why? Because the verb here is in present and her is singular. The object is singular here. So we are going to use present tense singular auxiliary form of the verb. Then comes the main verb. The main verb is always used in the past participle. That is the third rule. Use the past participle form of the main verb of the active sentence. Alright, so whatever main verb is here, praises, praised. Okay, so the third form, the past participle form of praises is praised. So we are using the third form, the past participle form of the main verb. Then we use the preposition by to denote the agent of the action. But the action is done by whom? So we are going to use the fourth rule, use the preposition by. In some cases, we do not use the preposition when it is not important to know who is the doer of the action, or it is understood that by whom the action is done. So we use the preposition by here to denote the agent of the action. So here who is the agent? The object is everyone. So this is the way we change from active to passive. Now the last step, that is the subject becomes the object. Which subject? The subject of the active sentence. Here the subject is everyone. So this subject automatically changes to the object in the passive voice. So the 5 rules which we follow to change active to passive. The first is that the object becomes the subject. The second is that we use the to be form of the verb. To be form of the verb in the same tense as the main verb. Whatever the main verb is there in the present tense or past tense, we are going to use this helping or auxiliary verb in the same tense as the main verb. Then the main verb, this is used in the third form, that is the participle. Alright, that is the participle. And then we use the preposition by. Why we are using the preposition by? To denote the agent of the action, to denote who is doing the action. Then the last rule is that the subject becomes the object. Which subject? The subject of the active voice becomes the object of the passive voice. Now let's see how to form passive of the modals. Whenever there are modal verbs present in the active voice, so how can we change those active sentences into passive? The modal verbs, you already know what are modal verbs. The verbs like can, could, should, must, may and might are known as the modals. So let's see with these examples. First, I'll tell you about the formula which is used to transform the modal active into passive. First, we use the subject, then the modal verb which is already present in the active sentence. Then we use be, and after that we are going to use the third form of the verb which is present in the active sentence, that is the past participle form, and after that we write the object. Let's see this example. We can postpone this meeting. We is the subject, can here is the modal verb, postpone verb, this meeting is the object. When we change this active sentence into passive, the first thing which we do, as I have explained you the rules already, the first rule is that the object of an active sentence changes to the subject of a passive sentence. So the first and foremost thing which we do is to change the object of the active sentence to the subject of the passive sentence. Secondly, we write down the modal and add be along with it. And after that, we write the verb, that is postpone, in the third form, that is the past participle form. Alright, next example using should. You should respect your elders. So what is the modal here? Should is the modal. This is the modal verb. You is the subject. Respect is the verb. And your elders is the object. So first thing, again, the object becomes the subject. That is, your elders should be. We always add be along with the modal. Your elders should be respected by you. Must, there's another model here, must. How do we change this? We must keep our environment clean. Our environment is the object here. So our environment must be, with the model we are going to use be, must be kept. The third form of keep, the past participle of keep is kept. Kept clean, right? Next example, the office could give bonus to the employees. This is an active sentence. The office is the subject. Could give. Could is the model here. Give is the main verb here. And bonus to the employees. Here there are two objects. Bonus is one object and to the employees it is the second object. Alright. So how we are going to change it? The employees could be given bonus by the office. We are going to change the object to the subject and always use be along with the modal verb. Now the agents of passive voice. What are the agents? The doer of the action. Who is doing the action? Agents means the doer of the action. Now in the passive voice, we don't always write the agent of the action. When it is not important who is doing the action, we do not write the agent of the action. The agent or the doer of the action is mentioned in the passive voice only if necessary. If it is not important, if it is already known that who is doing the action, we do not write the agent or the doer of the action. We avoid vague words. Vague means which is not clear. Like someone or a person when we don't know who actually is doing it. For example, someone picked my pocket. My pocket was picked. Now here someone, we don't know who. Who is this someone? We don't know. So therefore we are not going to write here by someone. We will not write this. Here we are not going to write the agent of the action. We are not going to write about the doer of the action. The police caught the thieves red-handed. The thieves were caught red-handed. So here we know, it is already known who is going to arrest the thief, the police. So therefore, we already know the doer of the action. Therefore, here we are not writing by the police. Alright, we are not writing the agents of the passive voice.